Well, hello everybody. It's Marcus here, and welcome to our listeners, old and new. We have a guest today on the podcast. It's Harry Rose from Darwin Agency. Hey there, Harry. How you doing?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm pretty good myself, thank you. Thanks for asking. So, Harry, I'll just give a quick resume of who you are and what you do.
Yeah.
You basically run a very successful photography agency where you've got photographers working for you, and you also you run a production agency as well.
Yeah, so we run a production sort of like coincide with Darwin Studio. So when we get a job for a photographer, we either offer to do the full production for the client, or they will do a loan out, or they just want the photographer and they handle the production with someone else. So it's
Yeah.
either or, depending on who you're working with.
And so one's called Darwin Studios and the other one Darwin Agency.
They're both called Darwin Studio.
Okay.
We're all under one name. I mean, it does confuse people because people think we're a physical studio. So I have to sometimes, we're foremost a photo agency that offers production support, and then but a lot of the time we find ourselves doing the production anyway. So it's interesting how it's evolved and become more of a people coming to us for those things.
Well, we're certainly going to be digging into all those aspects of your business during this show, and it's a great name, and I think that's a good place to start, really, because I sort of know a little bit of your history, your early history,
Hey,
because yes, because you were a student at the university where I was lecturing. You were at University of South Wales, what didn't you?
I was well, it was Newport back then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was
Before the merger happened, we
before the
were at
merger.
Newport University where they filmed. It got abandoned, that building, and they used it for sex education, the TV
I
series.
know it was a lovely. We had some great times there, didn't we? Have it was a great space, wasn't it? The studios were terrific.
It's a really nice building. It was nice that it was like up and away from anything. You had to get a bus or drive there to kind of be in the on campus if you were to stay on campus. So yeah, it was a really great experience. It's all kind of like it felt like everyone was just in these studios and creative environment on a hill and just
Yeah,
and just chatted and got stuff done. You weren't really distracted by
exactly right.
anything else really, which is really lovely.
Exactly, yes. And I mean, even I lectured on the fashion uh, course, fashion BA, but you were on a different BA. The BA you did was the
I did the fine art one, um, and I think I crossed paths with every lecturer and
yes. Well, we certainly did.
anyone.
No,
I
Harry, you probably don't know this, or you might know it, but we talked about you often in the staff room, as it were. You were one of the star pupils.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks, mate.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't feel it. I certainly didn't feel it at the time. I was very much. I guess it's kind of weird because you don't, I think sometimes university, you go there to kind of. It's great to kind of figure out who you are a bit and also what you want to
Hmm.
do, what you don't want to do, and I was very much just like never thought I'd get into. I mean, I wasn't very academic, so I know, photography was kind of like my last resort. Otherwise, it would be a career in doing something I probably didn't want to do. So I kind of ran at university and anything that was put my way and extra stuff to do, just because I felt like you're gonna get one shot at it, and you kind of
Correct.
you have to really just you have to throw yourself, and especially I feel like especially more in the arts now.
Oh,
Um, you've got to really just go for it. You can't be a passenger in anything in the creative industry anymore. You have to really drive what you would like to do. And yeah, I kind of had that. I had that. Just I don't know. I know that as you know, my father passed away after a year
yes, I remember.
in uni, and that really going into second year, and that really drove me in a lot of ways. And obviously, whilst I was at first year, obviously I knew what his diagnosis was, so I think that kind of spurred me along, and I wanted to try everything and know everything and pick everyone's brains and talk to everyone and be
That's exactly what you're there for, and that's exactly what it's all about.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's so if I remember correctly, you I would actually let you tell us the kind of work that you were the kind of work that you were producing when you were a student, and that will give us the link into what you're doing now, I think.
Yes, I was doing so I was on a fine art course, and obviously there was obviously at the time there was documentary and the fashion photography courses, and
Yep.
a lot of the time a lot of it, it's everything's in conversation with one another all the time in photography. So I would um I would talk to the courses, and I think I bonded a lot more and spent a lot of time with the documentary photography lot
Well,
than
there was
anyone,
yes.
than anyone else. I
They were the
think.
cool kids, weren't they? And
They're the
that
cool
they were
kids.
the cool kids.
They all looked very cool, and it
Yeah.
all kind of made me feel very uncool. And I really found a lot of that world quite, yeah, like I found it really interesting. There was actually a point I was going to jump course and go
Yes.
for second year and go into the
Yes, I
documentary.
do remember that distinctly.
Yeah,
Yep.
I was going to jump up, and so I was making a lot. I think I was making a lot of projects which were really kind of what I was going for at the time, and very kind of like a biographic kind of work, and kind of documentary kind of like it's very much like um followed what I wanted to kind of, my experience. I'm a firm, but and it's kind of extended outward because I was a firm believer that in any type of photographer I talk to, whenever they show me work, and it might be something they have no, and they show me stuff that they have no knowledge of or experience of or understanding, but they've gone and photographed it, and I'm always just like, why have you done that? Because your voice, finding your voice and what you're interested in, and the ways you can, weigh into something is really interesting. So I did a lot of things which I basically write about, my experiences either
Yes.
growing up or my experiences now. Um, and there was a lot of kind of seismic change when I was at uni. I think civil partnerships and gay marriage was only just going through in my second year. And I
Yep.
think there's a lot of equality things
Yeah, it's
happening.
surprising, isn't it? I know it's
Yeah,
incredible, isn't
so
it, to think.
when you look back now, you kind of go, "Oh my god, there's so many big seismic shifts in the UK, and kind of like the social cultural landscape when I was there." And I wasn't. I went into university completely unpolitical, and I came out the other end very
Great.
obviously.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. But your
Yeah.
your work explored identity. It,
Mm. It did, but I think I talk, and I did some photography kind of like I did some projects kind of like 2018 and 19, and set in 2017, because I think I kind of pitched myself in as like Mulder from X Files meets Louis Theroux trying to do a photography project. I think that's what I kind of wanted to be. And then whilst I was doing various other jobs in the industry, and I think how my a lot of my actual interests I found, and as I as I went through the kind of journey of being at uni, and sort of after that, I think my interest became more in others and how they tell stories,
yes.
how they make work,
Yes.
and how they do things. And I
Exactly.
started Darwin magazine in
That's
year.
exactly what I was going to get to. So,
Yeah,
just to our listeners who haven't quite missed the link, you started this concept of Darwin
mag-
Agency Studio, what you're doing now,
yeah.
really back when you were at university.
Yeah, it spawned from there, and I think I was, because I just got my first kind of political head on, and I got into the photography world, and I was like, oh my god, what there's you got to have lot, but if I come from a very kind of like middle class, decently well off like background. I don't ever kind of dispute where I kind of where my roots were at. But then when I was looking at the industry and realizing, God, I'm so far below all the other micro classes in the industry to get anywhere, that I kind of thought what would be really interesting if I started up a magazine that celebrated and engaged with really exciting unrepresented. A lot of it was the basic concept was like, let's get a load of student photographers and let's find a photographer who's relatively well named. So we had people like I think Helen Sear was one of
Oh,
them.
yes. Yeah.
We had and sometimes it was lecturers from the course, because I know I could get them in it. So, right, can you just send me some of your images and I can write about you and just pop you in it? And so we'd find kind of like relatively interesting big photography shows at the photography big awards. We'd get in contact with them, or there'd be rising documentary photographers who everyone was excited about at the time. I would get them in it, and then I'd put a load of photographers no one ever heard of because they were all just students.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and and oh, what's his name? Sean Smith. There's
Oh, yeah.
a few photographers now who are like really, really well. respected, and I was the first person to publish their work and
And
put it in something.
and what was did you have that what was your idea, your concept behind Darwin? Okay, you've got these photographers together, and that is a
Yeah.
great idea, by the way, to start an agency with your fellow students. I've always thought to myself, that would be, why don't students do that? You did it. But what was the overriding concept behind Darwin at that stage? Was it what you have now, or was it something you were developing?
It's it's got less. It's a lot now. It's got less. It's a lot smoother edges to what the magazine was, which was very much like very much in opposition to things and like very like let's get these people in. And now I've kind of realized as you move on in the as you navigate kind of professional landscape and world, you've got to be a bit more smoother at getting what you want. And
Of
I
course,
think
it's a business. It's a business.
so it really was very much like the magazine, like imprint, getting photographers, finding work, finding interesting work, publishing it, selling it. We were stocked across. We did 7 issues. And we were stocked across Europe. I think we had 20 places.
Mm,
Stocked in,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then we were actually the rise. We were ahead of all the there was a lot of there's magazines like Splash and Grab and other magazines and that came out, and we were kind of ahead of them. Had like 3 or 4 issues before these people came along, and my friend sent me a picture. It was he texted me and was like, "Oh, Darwin magazines in the photographers gallery," and I was like, "I know we're stocked
Wow.
there," but he was like, "No, you're on a talk." Someone was giving a talk
Oh,
about publishing, and
yeah.
our front cover was on the big slide they were doing, and it was kind of talking about the rise of self-publishing. And I did a self-published book, photo book, as my sort of graduate. So I was really
Yep.
interested in like producing something and creating something, and then putting it in front of people and having like a final product and something that could engage people. And I was really I wasn't really aware of like the commercial photography world when I was at uni. I wasn't really I didn't really know what a producer was. I wasn't really connected to anyone or had any ways in. But I think I did a real desire. And I named it Darwin because I really liked. It originally was actually this is not what anyone really knows about. Darwin actually originally started a thing called the Darwin Collective, which was going to be a bunch of photographers that kind of came together and made work. And we were going to put on exhibitions under the Darwin Collective, and it'll be
Right.
a bunch of work that's shown and made and produced, and it'll be under a theme, or there'll be a way of connecting all these young photographers making work. That was the original idea, but then I thought, no, that's like I want something that's actually got that's going to physically going to last with people, and putting on exhibitions wasn't really something I had that much of an interest in. So we so it became Darwin, and the whole idea of it was I really liked the idea of having someone kind of young and new coming along and challenging the status quo as like kind of Charles Darwin. Obviously, that comes with so many other
Yeah, yeah.
connotations of survival of fittest, blah blah, all the other stuff now where people see outdated. But I think a lot of it is about adapting and evolving and changing, and being willing to accept new things. And I think that really within the creative world as photographers, and I mean it's a lot different. It's changed so much since 2017, like before even like pandemic. The landscape keeps changing every 5 to 8 years. It just dramatically
Oh,
shifts.
cool. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so let's just so you've got the collective together, the Darwin Collective, and then how does that turn into Darwin Studio? What was that process there when you thought, "Oh, okay, I can start making a business out of this"?
So Darwin magazine essentially, I made it into uni into third year, and I stopped it when I graduated. I stopped it because I kind of and it turned into an online magazine, um, where there was loads of basically I then just digitized the entire kind of every you could
Mm,
just go through just PDF the whole thing, so you can go look at back issues and you see new articles of interviews with photographers and artists. And it lived like that for a year or two, and I kind of just lost a bit of in. I'd kind of lost the kind of the interest for it. I was out of university. It's a really, as everyone knows, coming out of university, you're like thrown to the wilds. You don't. It's such a scare. It
yeah.
was I would think one of the. It has been was one of the scariest times of my life was leaving uni because I was like, oh my god, the bubbles burst. I'm now.
Yep.
I don't have I don't have my my schedule. I got to now go and take this degree and make it work. So I worked part time in shops for a year and a half, and then whilst doing that, I volunteered at photography festivals and took copies of Darwin and sold them. I kept selling the magazine. I had back
Yes.
copies of it, so I kept using that as a way in with people. I worked at some photography galleries, and then I I then found a way through. I bumped into someone at I was volunteering at Photo London, and I bumped into. I was just chatting to someone away, and I was talking about how much like I loved photography and like prints and making things and doing things, and really passionate about artists and communities and things like that. And then he just happened to be the head of marketing for a massive printing
Oh, that's how it
company.
happens. You've got to get out there to get
Well,
on with it.
you have to be out there right in front of them, and then
Yep.
then he sort of took me on, and then I worked with him for a bit. I then kind of then walked away from that job, and then was brought on to kind of like out of nowhere was brought over to I was brought over to the British Journal of Photography. And that for me was just like I was aware of the BJP making Darwin
Mm.
magazine. I was very much like they were kind of they did influence a lot of Darwin magazine in the early kind of like 3 years of it running.
Well, do you
And
remember? Sorry, do you remember Colin from one of the lecturers who used to work right for the BGP at USW?
yeah, Colin, yeah, because
Yep.
he was a guest writer for because when I was reading the BJP, I noticed they had Colin writing for it. So I went to Colin and went,
Yes.
"Could you write for us?" And then it
I
was
thought
Colin.
you did. I thought you
And
did.
he was like, "We're the BJP now. We've got all this kind of stuff going on." So I was brought over there, and the BJP was really they were really they gave me it was an amazing experience. I spent basically almost 4 years there, just
Oh wow! I didn't. Yeah.
yeah, doing what I really wanted to do, which was nice. So I was brought over there, and I had an interview, and it was like it was with some previous people that I'd worked with who were different departments. They came over for an interview, and it was essentially about. It wasn't really an interview. I mean, I went over and I had the interview, and I was terrible. I wasn't very good because I didn't really know what I was walking into, or what I was really. I didn't really know what it was that I was being asked to kind of do, or what the role was. They just said, "Do you want to come over and just present on?" Photography and marketing. And I went, okay, fine, I'll do what I kind of know from my limited experience doing what I do. And then they brought me over, and basically it was a really exciting role to basically reinvent the BJP from a commercials perspective. So
Right.
advertising the BJP wasn't great. People weren't really
No,
paying
it's
for it.
definitely a time of change then, wasn't it?
Yeah,
From the paper magazine to the digital magazine.
100%. It was digitizing. I mean, the magazine was going on to apps. It had like an iPad app. The magazine that was new for it. Um, and then I was essentially brought over to kind of like work on building a department on essentially how did you make money out of advertising. And we built up this idea of, well, the BJP is the oldest. It is the oldest. I mean, the Royal Photographic Society did argue
Yeah.
with us, but we're the most successful, oldest photography publication in the world. Like it's founded in 1854. We more and looked at it and its history, its culture, and everything. It's a really important magazine.
It's a brilliant magazine.
So good now. I know. I'm really good friends with the owner. I'm really good friends with the entire because we all stay in touch. Like, we're always WhatsApping and chatting, and whenever I'm in London, we're going out for meals and hanging out. And it's we basically just turned rather than trying to sell in print advertising. It was like, well, why don't we actually just create original content for brands and companies who want to engage with the BJP's audience? It was an audience of like, God, rattling my old CV brain, but millions of people were
Mm,
engaged
mm.
through subs or online. We had that kind of data, so we basically launched a commissioning. We launched like a free to enter kind of commissioning platform where we would put up commissions for photographers saying we're looking for a photographer to tell stories about California, or we're looking to tell stories about there's this new product this company's launching, and how would you tell a story with that, and all those kind of things where we'd give a
Yeah,
brief,
right.
and then the creative community of the BJP would then submit their ideas. We would then go through all those, then present it to the brand or the client, whoever we're working with, and saying these are the creative ideas that have come in, let's do them. And then we would and then sometimes I would a lot of the time I'd kind of go, well, this is what we're doing, and we'd find people who can kind of fit what we're doing. um yeah, and we worked with Star Wars, and a campaign with Star Wars, which was a little boyhood dream to be on the phone to the team at Lucasfilm. And I did a lot. I think I did around 25, 26 campaigns
Oh,
there.
wow.
A
Well, that's
lot.
I can really it's an amazing this thread that is running through it, this very linear progression to where you are now.
Yeah, I
Basically,
mean,
from the Darwin Collective to
yeah.
working for the BJP and getting photographers to submit their work for the magazine and for campaigns.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't feel like it at the time,
No,
and I feel
it
that's
doesn't. It
whenever
never
you
does.
whenever you hear, like, people who've got off and done things, you're like, "Oh my god, that's really great, that's really interesting." You look at like you said, you look at it and you kinda go, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's got, like, a line through." But to me, I just felt I was a lot of the time just pissing into the wind and just doing things.
Well, that's incredibly honest of you, but
Yeah.
yeah, there was definitely a thread there.
I didn't. I mean, look, I didn't fully know what I was doing all the time, and I often feel that most people. One of the big things I kind of learned going through, especially the creative industry, the advertising industry, a lot of people don't know fully everything to what they're doing. A lot of it is based on, willpower, a great idea, and a great community of people who can come around and make it a reality. That is, in all fairness, yes, you need a lot of your
Mm,
technical skill, and but there's amazing producers who are so like smart and ahead of it, and you know support you the whole way and cover you when you need to cover you and help you to help you. So yeah, there's all those things, but I learned so much just by doing things and finding out things on the job, and then it got to a point in the BJP where for me it felt there were redundancies happening in the company. I knew that I was doing a good job with the amount of money I was bringing in. They got quite big. And too quickly is which was a and I was never a yes man. I never have been, and I was very much a you shouldn't do that or this is a terrible idea. Like please, and vice versa. When there was something legitimately I was excited by and thought was fantastic, I would really, really champion it. I launched they got a awards called Decade of Change. That was my baby, which I kind of gave to them and sort of portrait of humanity as well. So I came up with awards for them so they could generate more
right.
revenue from those things. So yeah, it got to a point where it kind of felt like they were making redundancies, and I felt like a natural. It felt like a natural end, and obviously, every company there is various internal politics and things get shifted. I knew that the commissioning platform was going to become something you paid to be part of, to enter. That for me stank. I
Yep,
was
yep.
like, make it free.
Mm.
Anyone can engage with this. Anyone can submit. Anyone can get their ideas seen by us, and we could potentially, if we like it enough and we like their work, we can commission them. And for me, that was just like gold dust because those things do not exist anywhere. And I was really protective of it. And when we found out that all these big seismic, and then the company, your end of the day, it's a business, and it's got to make changes and it's got to make adjustments. And I don't, I left. I left there really. I was really sad when I left because it was like it was home for me for 4 years. It was the first big, serious job I had outside of uni. I mean, there are other
I get
jobs I
it.
did which were good. I was seeing the same faces for 4.5 years, and then I left and I kind of went, well, what am I doing next? And I just went, I took a bit of time and was freelancing for some creative agencies. Then I went to work at a photo agency for about
Okay.
2 years. So I kind of went there to kind of understand. I went there. They thought it was it's a classic kind of Harry situation where I had no idea how a photo agency ran. They just saw what I'd done before and saying, "Oh my god, this guy has like commissioned all of these projects. Look at their portfolio. It's amazing." I had no experience on how to run a photo agency or how
Wow.
to manage photographers. Yes, I mean I worked with lots of photographers and they would come in, but I wouldn't necessarily be I'd be working with them, but I wouldn't be kind of like managing their careers. I'd just be commissioning them.
Yeah, but you
So,
you went to the right place to learn how to do it, Harry. That you're
do
let's just say that you're sort of putting yourself down there a bit. You
But
went to you went to the right place to learn how to
it
do it for your goal,
was
really.
I
Well,
mean, it was. I mean, much to the kind of probably despair of the employees at the photo agency, they were very much like. I mean, I did everything that was expected, worked hard, but I think they were kind of, I think there was a bit of a they weren't expecting what they got, and sometimes that's exciting, and then sometimes and then the pandemic hit, and then. I mean, they just everyone just turned around and said we can't afford to employ anyone anymore. Like we've got to
right,
let everyone go.
right.
And then that was really kind of the birth of Darwin. I sat down and went. What can I do? Go on. You're about to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to put a date on that, and I think we're looking at 2020. You would have said COVID when the COVID
Yeah,
hit,
so it was
roughly
2020,
about
yeah,
2020.
2020, and then sort of 2021 was when Darwin, in August 2021 is when
That's when
Darwin
you launched it. Okay,
Studio launched, but it took a good kind of 6 months, and before then, I launched 2 other photo agencies for 2 other people which are still running today, and they're ironically now my competitors, which is
oh
fun.
wow, I did. Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you say competitor. I'm very open with a lot. I know some really amazing photo agents and some photo agents with that. They work so hard for their photographers, and they're so talented. And I keep a good rapport with them. It's not the same everywhere, but
Uh,
it's
Okay, let's get in there. Let's
well,
start digging in deep for our listeners, because there's going to be some old listeners out there who don't really know what a photo agency does. So let's just give us a little pitch on that, and then tell me what makes Darwin different to all the others.
yeah. So I mean, as a whole, like a photo agency's essential responsibility is to basically manage the photographer's career. So they've got a photographer, whoever, let's say, just for the conversational state, they've got a sports photographer in, and they mainly represent sports photographers. A lot of photo agencies will represent the same kind of photographers.
Mm,
They've all got a kind of similar aesthetic. They're
mm.
gonna kind
Is
of
that
do,
right? Okay.
and you can't. I mean, I'm yet to find a photo agency apart from my one, as a bit of humble bragging, that that isn't like that. Where they all kind of all fit in the same, and sometimes I wonder why certain photographers join certain agencies, because I'm a bit like, well, you could join there, but are you really going to stand out amongst all those other names and all those other work that's been, those guys have been there for like 5 years and they've shot all the
Mm,
work you want to shoot. Do you really want your work alongside that? So we essentially, the job is to manage their careers, find them work, bring them work, and then also and then manage that relationship directly with the client. So it's basically in between the photographer and client. So I know what my photographers will say yes to. I know what they will say no to. I know what I would say yes and no to. So a lot of the time, I act on behalf of the photographer. I always act on behalf of the photographer, and essentially get them a really good, kind of the best deal that you can get, kind of financially and creatively, because you get look, every agency will get some dud campaigns sent their way where you do it for the money and you don't do it for the creativity,
yeah,
where then you do get some amazing creatives come in, book campaigns, but there's just not much money there. So
of
then you do have
course.
to have a really honest chat with your photographer saying, look, I know we'd love to kind of, do X amount on this, but this is all they have, and then we then put in favors to make it work. So it's very much managing their career and
Right.
their trajectory and where they want to go, because there'll be certain jobs that I know, for example, like quite recently, I've had photographers who are like, I'm just taking a break. And they're like, I'm not leaving photography. I'm still doing it. Like I will do jobs when they come in, but they're like, can you just hold off on, promoting me and putting me in front of people, because I just want a couple of months off so I could just, take it easy, because they've been working non-stop for years and they just wanted a natural, I'm going to take a little bit of a rest time. And that's fine. Then we got some briefs in for them, and I looked at it and I was like, but it was so demanding and taxing. And I looked at that and I was like, those 3 months are going to go. They're not going to have any time. They don't want to come fresh. Then we then potentially bring that work in front of other photographers who, are at a slightly different point in their career, who will jump on
Yeah.
that campaign and handle it. And a lot of it is, there's a lot of pastoral care as well. I mean, I'm very much I know I got told when I worked at a previous photo agency, they'd never let your photographers mix, never let them socialize, never let them be
Is that
together,
right?
because it
Charming.
throws.
Because they'll start bitching about
Yeah,
you.
who's getting the job? What did they get? And
You got
I'm the
paid how much?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And I'm the
How
complete
many
opposite.
cakes did you have on that in your catering?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. That's the kind of, I mean, but I was really, when I launched Darwin, it very much launched in opposition to things, because I'm very much like one of those people that I feel like, if you're going to do something, you've got to do it for a reason. And that reason, I mean, either the reasons are simplistic, as I would like to do this because I would like to have this type of life. Fine, go ahead and do it. But I felt like if I'm going to do something there's got to be a reason and a driving force behind it. And because I'd freelanced at, I was fully employed at one photo agency. I freelanced at a few. I set up some others. I worked with creative agency who contacted photo agencies to work with them, and I knew what the culture was kind of like. And for me, the culture of photo agencies is very much like a, and my photographer, I mean, people listen to this and they either go, "Oh yeah, good on you," or or like, "Fuck that guy." And it's very much like
Mm,
West
mm.
London privileged money photographers, kind of like where all they can do this because it's a laugh, and that and then that is a huge biggest it's a big assumption that you think I could be making, but I've been in those rooms and I've been in those meetings and I've been in those spaces where I felt completely isolated and alone and detached from what was happening because I wasn't from those backgrounds. And like I said earlier, I come from a middle class, relatively privileged background. If I'm walking into rooms and I'm feeling uncomfortable and not represented and
Yeah,
not
right.
welcome in a way, even if I was welcome, I didn't feel like I was welcome, then what the hell does it mean for like insanely talented people from lower middle class and working class backgrounds? And that for me was like a huge driving force in like what I do, in the sense of a lot of the photographers who work from a real diverse range of backgrounds. And I don't go looking for people based on, no, I'm not looking for like a diversity ticking exercise with who I represent. It's first and foremost the photography, and the creativity and who they
Right.
are person to
Yes.
person. And then if and then I try to kind of lift up and bring in people where I can. And it's so that's kind of what Darwin it spawned in opposition, and then it's kind of grown and grown and grown to kind of be that. But I think the voice as we've gotten bigger, the voice hasn't gotten louder. It's kind of maintained, and I found different ways of talking about it rather than saying, "Aren't you people awful? You only commission your mates, and you only commission this, and you only do that, and why don't you, have a chat with me? Even if it's not my photographers, I know loads you could work with who are unrepresented, but they're super and a lot of the time, a lot of the deals they go through mates at pubs. I went to school with his mates, so I'm
Of
giving him a
course.
job,
Of
and it
course.
and it's so insular. So Darwin's always been about kind of like breaking that a little bit, and we've been really lucky to find a lot of producers and art buyers who connect with like know what I'm like. And Darwin's like the voice of Darwin's me, basically.
Yeah, yeah, I
In a
get that. I
really
get that. Well,
good
well, Harry, we come up to sort of the end of this show here, but we've got still so much to cover, and we really want to be talking about the money and the side of the business that really people those questions that our listeners have got. So we're going to record another show with you here and now,
yeah.
and this will come out at a later time. So let's start getting into those questions.